Well, hello, I'm here with Caitlin to talk about machine unlearning. But first, ChatGPT is not good at coding.
No, it is not. It is not good at all. So we've all known that ChatGPT has some issues coding, although it is helpful. It is helpful. Sometimes if I'm working in a language I haven't used in a while, I'll ask ChatGPT to give an example of a loop, or I'll ask it how to write a string to a file. But unfortunately, people are asking it to do complex operations and write entire programs from scratch, and that creates a problem. And because ChatGPT does not understand what you're actually asking it. And so some researchers looked at what GPT is actually capable of. So if we go over here to the browser, um, this is an article on from PC Magazine by Emily Price. And the answers to the questions that you ask it are not so great. So this was a study by Purdue University, and it asked 517 questions from Stack Overflow. And they found that 52% of the answers were inaccurate and 77% were verbose. Now, I don't know what the problem with being verbose is. Maybe it's just too much code for what it's trying to do, but inaccurate is an issue. Inaccurate is an issue. Now, of course, Stack Overflow is going to ask questions that are very specific, can be kind of complex, like how do I, uh, encrypt a zip file, using, LZA compression and all this stuff. So, it might be a little complex, but regardless, 52% containing inaccuracies is kind of a large number. And that's kind of what I expect. About 50% work and about 50% don't work. And so, like I said, if you want to use ChatGPT to help with your coding, ask it very simple questions and then combine those together and always double, triple, quadruple check the answers that ChatGPT gives you. It does not understand the questions you are asking. All it knows, it's a predictive text algorithm. So it is a stringing together code and it doesn't know what it does or why. But hopefully future tools will get that down, but I don't think we'll ever get it down to 100% accuracy, at least not with the current tools.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've noticed the same thing. A part of our AI workshop at DEF CON, people are writing code with this. And I know when preparing for that, I found that Google Bard claims they're better at writing code, but even so, the code was all full of mistakes. Like I remember the one that amazed me is ask it to find the first 10 prime numbers, and it can't do that at all. It will just find the ones less than 10. I think the latest version did a little bit better than that, but it's just something that simple is too hard for it. It took many back and forths to get anything that worked.
Right. When you get the code, double check it, rewrite it yourself, because it is close to what it's supposed to get. Like in your example, it is very close. It does find prime numbers.
Yeah.
Only instead of finding the first 10, it finds the first prime numbers that are less than 10.
Yeah.
And, you can easily modify the code.
Another thing that was real important is that it will tell you, but include documentation saying there it works. And in the documentation, it'll say when you run it, it'll give you the first 10 and it'll put the right answer there, which is absolutely not generated by running the code. So
Right.
it will just lie to you and claim it's working fine when it's not.
Exactly. So you still need to be an experienced coder to use ChatGPT properly. It is not a replacement for coders quite yet.
Yeah, I think all this panic about we're all going to get fired and replaced by AI is a lot less scary once you find out how crappy AI is.
I think it's going to make a dent in the market, but mostly in the entry-level jobs
Yeah.
where the people coming in aren't all that great anyway, and you could replace them with bots. But once you become an experienced coder and you understand the context of this code, then you're still better than ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we all need to learn how to use these tools
Right.
and see what good we can get out of them. And the tools will keep getting better. They've just in the last year moved from being useless to being somewhat useful, and probably in a year or two they'll get a whole lot better.
Right. I mean, they'll get up to 70, maybe even 80%, accurate, but we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I was pleased to see this article on Men's Journal, something a place I normally wouldn't go, but they say the next Apple Watch is going to have a blood pressure monitor, which is very interesting. I'd like to see that. So probably enough to motivate me to get the new watch if it has that. That would really be helpful to monitor your health. So we'll see how good it is. I know there was a series of articles that came out last week saying that blood pressure monitoring devices used in hospitals are very inaccurate. It turns out that they need to come in the right size, and people are using the wrong size, and that makes it very wrong. So I wonder how accurate a watch could be at monitoring your blood pressure. I don't really understand how it can. The band is not that tight. It's going to have to, I can see how it measures your blood oxygen level by just measuring the color of your blood by shining a red light through a green light through your skin. But I don't know how, and it can get your pulse the same way, but I don't know how it's going to get your blood pressure. I'd be interested in how that works and how accurate it is. But if it is accurate, it could really help, because a lot of people have hypertension, and monitoring your blood pressure on a regular basis and watching as it changes with your diet and exercise would probably really help people who want to improve their health. So I'm looking forward to that. And let's go back to Caitlin, who has bots are better at being humans than humans are.
Right. So before I go on to that, I'll talk a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
Because I took this picture
Oh,
last
yeah.
night. So this is the Dumbbell Nebula. It's M27, Messier 27.
The what?
So the Dumbbell
Oh, the
Nebula.
dumbbell. Okay.
Yeah, Messier 27. M27. It's in the constellation Vulpecula, and it's about 1,400 light years away. And it's just a planetary nebula, but a very popular one to image. Now, what you're seeing is a true color image of the nebula. So on the outside, you see some red, faint gas, and that is hydrogen. And the bluish stuff in the center there, that is all oxygen. And you can see in the center, there is some bright portions where stars are being formed. So this is just your standard planetary nebula. It's very popular to take pictures of. So
I thought a planetary nebula was from one star exploding, but this is something bigger than that, right?
This, I don't know if it's one star exploding or multiple, but it definitely does have a singular point of origin.
Okay.
You can see in the center, it's sort of going out radially.
So the fact that new stars are being created there is not really related to the nebula.
It is related to the nebula. That's how new stars are formed.
So the nebula has put out such a dense cloud of gas that new stars can form in it?
Yes.
Ah,
So the nebula
like
itself is not very dense, but there are regions where it becomes more dense. And that in turn becomes more dense. That in turn becomes more dense. Eventually you do start getting stars.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's good.
Yep. Anyway, so let's go back to the news, the most important thing. This article is from The Independent, and it's by, Vishwam Sankaran. And I'm sorry if I butchered that name. And it's all about CAPTCHAs. So apparently machine learning is so good that it beats humans now at CAPTCHAs, meaning that CAPTCHAs are now irrelevant and outdated. So let me pull up the article for all of you. So yes, this is from The Independent. And the title is Bots Are Better Than Humans at Cracking Are You a Robot CAPTCHA Tests, study says. And yeah, so apparently, and I highlighted this area, the most important part. According to the study, most humans take about between 9 to 15 seconds to solve a CAPTCHA, and they have a success rate of 50 to 84%. Now, the machine learning robots can solve CAPTCHAs within a second and have an 85 to 100% accuracy, with the majority above 96%, meaning that machines are now better at solving CAPTCHAs than humans significantly, meaning that CAPTCHAs are now outdated technology. And they are deprecated.
And yet you need something to stop automated attacks.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do moving forward now that machines can learn.
Well, one obvious thing would be just rate limiting. only let people enter like one response for every 10 seconds or something, that would do some good.
That would do some good. It would not stop bots from, posting every 10 seconds for a year to
Yeah,
your
wouldn't.
website. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
And posting from multiple IP addresses. You can create a Amazon server farm
Or use Tor.
or use Tor.
Yeah.
Just keep IP hopping. I mean, not a whole lot you can do.
Yep. Not good. Well, I got three AI articles that are related to the tough problems in AI. The first one, Anthropic, is one of the machine learning companies, and they are trying to figure out how AI works. They would like to find out when it does things like hallucinate, why did it do that? And this is very difficult. And the thing that interests me, this is very much like analyzing a real human brain to see how it works. It's something I used to do years ago. I mean, they measure the activity of various neurons in the model and show that certain neurons seem to be contributing to this decision more than others in a sort of statistical way. But the fact is, it's not like there's one neuron that did the job. It's the whole neural net that did the job. And so they're developing statistics to make some statements. And one thing they find is in a visual model or a large language model, the first layers of processing look at short range connections, and the later range tend to look at longer range connections, like connecting paragraphs together. So that gives you some idea of what the different layers are doing, but that isn't immediately very useful. And the reason to do this is the second article. Machine unlearning is a big problem. Now we have all these models, like all the big large language models were trained on basically the whole internet. And now a bunch of people are complaining and saying, we don't give you permission to use our data. So take our data out of that model. Now, there is no known good way to unlearn a language learning model once you've trained it. The only sure way to do that is to remove the data and retrain the model from zero. But these models cost like $40 million to train, and that number is expected to go up. So that's really expensive and slow. And so they're trying. There've been research papers coming out over the last few years of people trying to develop systems to unlearn things in large language models. And it's really tricky. It's really tricky to do, and it's really tricky to verify that it's been done. But it's going to be an increasing need as we go forward. And another one, which I've heard rumors about, and this is the first, an Indian researcher, an Indian research magazine, analyzed OpenAI, and they said OpenAI is burning $700,000 a day running ChatGPT. And they're not recovering enough of that at all from subscription fees. So they say it may go bankrupt. And in fact, there are studies showing the actual usage of their website has gone down. And many people have noticed in the last month or so, the quality of OpenAI has gone down a lot. They switched to a new system of computing that saves computing time, but the quality of the answers has gone down. And what they say is more people have discovered there are free open source models which are better to build into your AI projects. So it may be that OpenAI is not really going to survive. It's an interesting argument anyway. Anyway, you got the DoD with the Generative AI Task Force.
Yeah, so AI is such a big issue today that the Department of Defense has started a new AI task force. So this is, let me pull up the article so we can see it. This is direct from the Department of Defense.gov. And this is just their letter saying that they are, or their press release saying that they're starting the AI task force to look at large language models and generative AI and create technologies to use it for, I guess, both offense and defensive purposes. So now we are fully weaponizing generative AI at this point. And so they actually have the full website to the new office is the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office, the CDAO. And you can see here's the people running it. You can actually apply for a job at this CDAO and become somebody working on the front lines for creating weapons with generative AI and defending against weapons from generative AI. So
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's immediate applications in propaganda and disinformation,
Yeah.
but there's probably a lot more. I know there have been examples used in Iraq twice where they actually tried to make automated robots that could shoot people, and turned out in both cases they went wrong and shot the wrong people. But I'm sure they're coming back to that again.
I'm sure they are. If I think this is specifically for generative AI, not just for um, machine learning, identifying
Yeah.
pictures. So
Yeah,
this
you're right.
specifically will be for, large language models and stuff like that. So mostly propaganda, creating deep fakes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yep.
All right. And the last one I've got is a college teacher made a study showing that unsupervised online exams where students can cheat work just as well as face-to-face in-person exams, or you don't make them, they can't cheat. And I must say, I observed the same thing when I taught Cisco. It was the first time I'd ever taught with these online multiple choice tests where people have just Google the answers. And I thought that would never work, but it worked fine. And, my experience of teaching made me realize there's different kinds of courses. I've taught like a entry-level course that was like the hated science requirement where morale was low and nobody wanted to be there. And those students would just cheat because they saw this as a waste of their time. But in more advanced courses, like the Cisco courses, people are there because they really want to learn it. And the only point of the test is to make them go through the material another time. And what happened there is the people that are putting work in did the test online or any other way and learned. And the people that flunked are the ones that weren't putting the effort in and not doing anything at all. It was not really an issue of cheating. It was just some people are putting in the work and other people aren't. And I think that's the case if you have a highly motivated class and not a lot of pressure. But I think if you have, if you have a requirement and brutal punishment for failing this class, then people will cheat more. Anyway, it's formal research for what it's worth, showing that at least under the circumstances of this class, worrying about people cheating is a waste of time. So I know Liz is always worried about this because people keep using these automatic monitoring tools to see if students are looking to the side and cheating. And I know you were taking the ham exams, and when I did that, they had to have like two Zoom sessions open so they can look at you and see if you're cheating. They make a big deal out of fighting the cheating, and I don't know, maybe there's that problem there. I kind of doubt it, but anyway, you're on mute.
Yeah, for the ham exam, I understand why they don't want people cheating, because it's not about learning the material. It's to see if you already know the material so you can
Yeah,
get your license.
yeah.
But there's been plenty of studies that show that cheating is actually a very good way to learn. So,
Cheating is a good way to learn, you say?
yep,
Oh,
cheating is a good way to learn.
well, I wonder. I guess now I've got some papers required next semester, and I'm sure some people are going to use ChatGPT. And I'm just going to tell them that's okay, but tell us you used it, and you have to go over it and correct it because it's going to produce garbage. So
Right. And
we'll see what happens. But my feeling is the people that just use ChatGPT and copy and paste it without reviewing it are not going to produce a good paper, and it won't be too hard to spot them. But we'll see.
yeah, ChatGPT does throw a wrench into the whole cheating thing. So for cheating, it would be going to a test and making crib notes and going through the effort of figuring out what's going to be on the test and try to write it all down. And that is actually a good way to learn. um,
Yeah,
when you use ChatGPT to do the work for you,
yeah,
then it becomes a bit of a problem because you're not even touching the material and it's not always obvious. And to make matters worse, I think generative AI is a good tool for writing. Like if you write a paragraph, you can have Bard or Grammarly, go over it and come up with suggestions and, help you proofread it. Um, but yeah, you just have to know how to use it correctly.
yeah. Well, I'm going to have more experience trying to grade students for papers based on it, I guess. We'll
Yep.
see how it goes. All right. Well, that's it for this one, and we'll have another one on Friday.
Okay.